Sara Blakely is the founder of Spanx and was named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. She went from working at Disney World and selling fax machines door to door to starting her company alone with only $5,000 and becoming the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world. Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like na 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 na. For my top 10, top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person that you know, but you also know that you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Sara Blakely, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Differentiate yourself.
It's really important to differentiate yourself. I say that more than anything. You've got to get to the point and you've got to give the what's in it for them very concisely and very quickly. So with differentiating yourself, I'll use an example. I always say you've got to differentiate. You've got to tell the person or the world why you're unique and why you're different very clearly and concisely. Then you have to let them know why you're unique and different in comparison to other options they may have. And then you need to let them know why that matters to them. So I'll use my own journey and just give you the example. I also say it's really important to sell the problem you're solving, not just the product. So I'll take my Spanx. So when I first invented Spanx, if I were to plug in this equation and how important it was, the first thing I said to the buyer or anybody, if I was in the media, if I got a chance to be on the news, I would say, do you have, you know how women have things hanging in their closet that we have no idea what to wear under? And then they would nod. And so I immediately started with the problem, creating the problem that I'm now about to solve. Then I would say, and then you know how our undergarment options, they're not that great. You have regular underwear that leaves a panty line that you can see, or these very thick, heavy-duty girdles that are too thick under your beautiful clothes or your nice slacks and leave lines on your legs. Okay? Then I've just given them the options that are dysfunctional, and then I tell them, well, I've just invented this product and look what it does. It meets in the middle of the options that are out there, and here's why it's gonna be important to you. Here's why it's gonna matter. You're gonna be able to wear white, you're gonna be able to wear cream, you're finally gonna be able to wear all the fabrics in your closet that you don't wear anymore, and you're gonna look amazing. You're gonna have no lines. So then I would give the what's in it for them, but that's just a quick example, and I like to start with the problem that I'm solving, right. Have them just sort of invest in it with you, and then why the other options aren't so great. People need to know from you, you're the only one that can do it, why you're their best choice. Don't assume that they're gonna just try to figure it out. People are busy, people are, we got a lot on our mind. Tell me, even in an interview, when I'm interviewing people, I want them to say, I'm your best candidate and here's why, and be very clear about it.
Rule number 2, be grateful.
What are you most grateful for in your life recently?
My children. That's easy.
Yeah.
My 4 children.
I think every mom has to say that, right? Or it's just
I mean, it's true. It's really how I feel. I'm also really grateful for being a woman born in the right country at the right time. I had nothing to do with that, and I'm very grateful. Yeah. And I wake up all the time thinking of that. My mom, we're only 21 difference in age, 21 years. My mom, her choices were so much more limited and what was expected of her or what her opportunities were. So, I mean, if you think about how long we've been on the planet, some people think a couple thousand years, some people think a couple million. Anyway, it's a long time. Right. And by just 20 years in the right country, I feel like I was born and had the opportunity for Spanx. Yeah. To fulfill a potential or something inside of me as a woman that was in me. And so I'm grateful for that.
Rule number 3, take risks.
One of the things when I really sit and think, why am I comfortable taking risks? What is it?
Yeah, where's it come from?
I was really lucky when I was growing up. My dad used to actually encourage my brother and me to fail. And so I would come home and sit at the dinner table and he would say, Sarah, what did you fail at this week? And if I didn't have something, he would actually be disappointed. And I can vividly remember coming home and saying, Dad, I tried out for this and I was horrible. And he would high five me. And what I didn't realize
that is so awesome.
I didn't realize it at the time, but he was teaching us that failure is not trying versus the outcome. And so with Spanx and everyone saying it was such a bad idea initially, and I feel like I feel much freer to be willing to fail in the traditional sense because I'm not focused on the end result. And the more, it's like working a muscle. The more you're willing to risk something and maybe fail, you realize there's always a really awesome hidden gift in it.
Exactly.
It's either you meet someone new that brings you to a different place in your life, or you learn something new, and so I always was really excited by how my life grew by every risk I took.
Rule number 4, aim high.
Speaking of learning from lessons, you've been around a lot of incredible entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I know you did a reality show with Richard Branson. This is 10, 12 years ago, you said?
Yes.
What was that like, and what's been a big lesson you've learned from him? And what was the show, and what'd you learn?
Yeah, the show was called The Rebel Billionaire, and it was the Apprentice version, Richard Branson's version of that. And they were looking for 16 entrepreneurs. So I'm like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to do this. And I really wanted to meet Richard. I sort of had set intentions out there that I was going to manifest him becoming a friend in my life. So when I heard about the show, I was like, oh, this is interesting. This might be how this happens. So I applied for it, and it was wild. So,
and how big was Spanx at the time? Was it really well known? Was it like just kind of
it was pretty, it was 4 years in. It was doing great.
Yeah, multiple 7 figures in sales.
Yeah, my lawyers begged me not to do it. They're like, what are you doing? You own this company. You're going to do a reality show. I was like, I just want to know Richard. I just feel like this is a chance. So, yeah, and all the business challenges took place around the world in different cities. And instead of, if you didn't win the business challenge, going into a boardroom to get fired, you had to do a crazy stunt, like a world record breaking stunt, because Richard is obviously like a huge adrenaline junkie guy. So in addition to being an amazing entrepreneur. And the very first day of filming, I had to climb the side of a hot air balloon at 9,000 feet in the air on a dangling rope ladder and have tea, climb to the top and have tea on top of the balloon with Richard.
It's insane.
It's insane.
So what did you guys talk about on the top of it?
Oh my God. Talked about like, how do we get down? And that's what he said. You climb back down. I was like,
crazy.
What? I didn't think about that. It was so scary.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it took me 48 minutes to climb to the top. It's at the height of a 17-story building. And the dangling rope ladder was just like hanging out into the abyss of nothingness. It wasn't anchored to anything. So I'm like climbing it. And
there's cameras up
that
there?
was the first day of filming. So 2 months later,
God.
I know.
There's cameras up there?
Yes. I
is
mean,
this on YouTube
helicopters
right now?
circling.
I have to watch this.
Probably. I had to do all these crazy stunts. The next stunt I had to do is I had to jump off the side of the Victoria Falls Gorge in Africa with a bungee cord attached to me.
No.
And my guy on my team was dangling on a wire on a crane 10 feet out from the cliff, and each person had to come up and stand there, and you couldn't run and jump, and you had to stand still and jump. And if he caught you, you were okay, and they'd put you back on the cliff. And if not, you fell 385 feet on a bungee cord. And so I am beyond terrified of heights. It's like I'm so afraid of heights. I cry on airplanes still during takeoff a lot of times.
Oh my gosh.
And I was one of the only people to make the jump. Richard didn't make the jump. All these other guys that were like amazing athletes didn't make the jump. And I like to talk about this because I always talk about aiming high and the importance of aiming high in life. And then I think all of us, we don't aim high enough. And so watch where you're aiming. And that saying, if you shoot for the moon, if you miss, you're at least with the stars.
Yeah.
And afterwards, everyone was like, Sarah, how did you make that jump? You're literally like the only contestant, and look at you. I said, well, I was aimed at the pulley 6 feet above his head. Where were you aiming? And I didn't even look at him. I aimed 6 feet above his head, and I landed at his waist, and he caught me. And everybody else was aiming at his face and landed at his feet and missed.
Amazing.
So it was like a really just poignant example of the importance of aiming high.
Yeah, in all areas of life.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to learn from other successful women entrepreneurs and billionaires, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
From day one, I never tried to hide that I was the girl in my apartment with the red backpack.
I'm here today to prove to you in 2 words there's no such thing as a bad idea, and that's footless pantyhose. go outside of our comfort zone. So I really believe that that's a big part of it.
Rule number 5, have courage.
So what kind of tips would you give to someone that is maybe in the beginning stages or an entrepreneur in the making?
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say to you is what you don't know can be your greatest asset if you have the courage to let it be.
Rule number 6, pursue your ideas.
Everyone thinks that Spanx actually started when I cut the feet out of my pantyhose, but the truth is it started many, many years before that. It started when I was selling fax machines door to door, getting kicked out of office buildings day in and day out, and I woke up one morning and I thought, I'm in the wrong movie. How did this happen? This is not my life. Cut, scene, call the director, call the producer, no. And I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down what I was good at. And there was not much on the page. I saw the word sales. I knew I was good in sales. So I wrote down in my journal, I want to invent a product that I can sell to millions of people that will make them feel good. And then I asked the universe for an idea. And I waited for 2 years. And the idea showed up. And the minute I cut the feet out of my pantyhose, I decided to pursue it. So, what do you do when you have an idea and you've never taken a business class or worked in fashion or retail? I wanted to patent my idea. And I ended up looking for a female patent attorney, and I called the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, and they said there actually wasn't a single female patent attorney in the entire state of Georgia. So I looked in the yellow pages and found 3 men's names and went out and pitched my idea to them, and they actually thought the idea was so bad that one of the patent lawyers later admitted to me he thought I'd been sent by Candid Camera. Which makes sense because he was looking around the room for the hidden cameras, but he ended up eventually helping me. I went to Barnes & Noble, bought a book on patents and trademarks, wrote my own patent, and went back to him and said, please, please, will you just write the claims portion of it? And he did for a discounted price. But it makes me think about inventors and innovators, and when you hear those words, do you think of women? Last year, my son had Inventor Week at his school, and they asked me to come and be the keynote speaker at his kindergarten class. So I was the inventor that was coming, and I started out looking at all these cute little kids, and I said, so what does an inventor look like? And all their hands shot up, and one kid said, it's a man and he has crazy hair. And somebody else raised their hand and said, no, 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 it's a bald man. No, it's a tall man, it's a short man. And I just stopped and I said, well, I'm an inventor. And their eyes got really big and they said, you are? And it dawned on me, I looked around the room and all the pictures of inventors were Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs. So I can see why the young girl who asked me and said I didn't know girls could be inventors was surprised. And even my son on the way home, he goes, Mom, you're an inventor? But the real point of all of this was I wanted to help women, and I'm so passionate about it, and it's amazing that I started with their butts, and I've continued to grow. I started at the Sara Blakely Foundation because I truly believe that the world would be a much better place if the male and female energy on the planet was more balanced.
Rule number 7, care about your customers.
How would you characterize your company's success today?
Well, we take risks, we're innovative, we listen to the customer, we are obsessed with what do you want, what is working, what isn't working. I love to ask people questions. You know, I am my own consumer, so I categorize us, this is how I feel about the fashion industry. I feel like the old adage, beauty is pain.
Yeah.
I call that BS before Spanx. Because it doesn't have to be pain. And I realized by breaking into the industry that the reason why was because the people making almost everything we were wearing weren't having to spend all day in it. So there wasn't that extra bit of love or that extra bit of attention.
Rule number 8, help others.
My goal is for the male and female energy on the planet to become more balanced. So I feel that it has been grossly out of balance for a long time. And we're all suffering as a whole. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's about, you know, what does that look like for the feminine to be not so suppressed and not, you know, so squashed.
Rule number 9, stop worrying.
If you could go back and talk to your younger self, go build the time machine and go back and talk to your younger self, What advice would you give the younger you that maybe you didn't realize about yourself that you wish you did when you were younger?
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is that he shows up.
He shows up.
He shows up.
He shows
and
up.
I think he's sitting in the audience here. But I spent a lot of time as a younger self worrying about, am I going to meet the right one? Am I going to be able to have children? Am I going to start a family? And I would tell my younger self, just chill out, he shows up. Just do your thing. Don't spend any mental energy on that. But it's hard, you know, especially as a woman. I really wanted to be financially independent. I wanted to chart my own way, but I also was really wanting to be a mother and have another side of my life.
Right.
So that's what I would say.
Very good.
He shows up. He took his
shows
time.
up.
I didn't get married till I was 37, 38. But now we have 4 children.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is think outside the box.
I always ask everybody in the company to think outside of the box, to be very innovative. I like to stop people and say, if nobody showed you how to do your job, how would you be doing your job? Just sit with that thought. And I'm basically a case study of someone who did not know how it was supposed to be done. I mean, no one had shown me. I'd never taken a business class. So I find there's so much amazing, you know, creativity that will surface if you stop and get off the autopilot that we're all on. Everybody's doing something because somebody else showed us how to do it. But if you really want to create big change in the world or in your life, it's going to happen when you do it differently, or you take a risk to do it different than how the 50 people or 100 or 1,000 people before you did it. So really encouraging thinking that way with inside the company, and as we grow, still remaining entrepreneurial, having fun.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Sara on how to make the most out of your life that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, where do you need to stop worrying? Let me know, put your answers down in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, you're still here watching, give me a hashtag believe down in the comments below. I wanna celebrate you. We don't just watch videos here, we do something about it. So give me that believe in the comments below too.
My definition of greatness would be going for it no matter what, despite fear, and making the absolute most of the life that you were given, because it's not a dress rehearsal.
If you want 10 more awesome rules from Sara, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
And it's important to learn. What I learned was, by not caring what other people think about me doesn't mean I don't care about them. I care deeply about them and the people I love, but I